Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. Well, today Britain has a new Prime Minister, so I thought I would explain how the situation works. Well, ultimately, the Queen is the head of the government, and she has the privilege of appointing Prime Ministers and removing them. You might think that sounds like she has a lot of power, but it's power that she doesn't use. It's only ceremonial. That's probably going to change in the future because many people don't like the monarchy, especially these days when they are seen as being rather colonial and relics of our past. So today, Boris Johnson has to go to the Queen's residence. It usually would be in London at Buckingham Palace. That's where her big office is, although she resides mainly at Windsor Castle these days, I think because it's easier for her to get around. Anyway, she's currently in Scotland staying at her country estate in Balmoral. The palace, the office at the palace, has already stated that she won't be returning to London to appoint or remove the Prime Minister, and that may indicate that she's not well, or at least can't travel. It's very unusual for people to have to go all the way up to Balmoral if they want to see her. But that's the way it is today. Boris Johnson is there as I speak, and he's offering the Queen his resignation, and Liz Truss, the new Prime Minister, is going to be appointed today by the Queen later. Now, it's all very sombre and very ceremonial, but does it actually mean anything? Well, to understand that, you would have to look further back into our history. So at one point in our history, and I won't bore you with all the details, there was a big war. It was a war against the government and against the royals. So I can say it's a war between the government and the royals. There was a growing need to separate out the power because the royals, even back then, needed to have some kind of government. So it was called the English Civil War, and it was finally ended when there was an agreement that the government promised never to do anything without the royals' consent, and then the royals promised never to do anything without the government's consent. And that's how it's been ever since. So we have the royals and we have the government. If the Queen does something, the government has to agree. And if the government does something, the Queen has to agree. So it's kind of like a shared balance of power. She is still our ceremonial head, but she never gets involved in politics. During Brexit, people tried to get her involved. And they thought that maybe if she had the final say, she could use her power to stop it. But of course she refused. Technically the power is hers. She could at least have raised an issue, but it's never been known for a royal, at least not in any recent years, to disagree with anything that the government says. Part of the Queen's job is to sign around 40 papers every day. Whenever the government pass a law, the Queen has to sign the paper agreeing with it. If she ever did disagree with something, then we would never get to hear about it, I suppose. Maybe if it was something which threatened or restricted the royals, there might be a problem with that, but it's very unlikely that that ever comes up. Things are changing though. All of the other European countries have managed to separate the royals from their politics. If you look at the Netherlands, for example, the church isn't involved in politics at all. The royal family isn't involved in it. But here, the Queen is still the head of the church, which makes it a little bit complex if you try to remove her, because you technically would be removing someone who's like the Pope. So it's not quite as easy as it seems. But having said that, I think once the Queen dies, probably there will be some sweeping changes, because she's very old. She's from our colonial days, and I think everything is just being left because of her age, and the fact that she's been one of our longest reigning monarchs. But in the future, when Prince Charles comes, I'm sure there will be changes. In fact, he has already said that he wants to try to widen the royals in some way or other, particularly to be representative of the diversity which is in the UK. But who knows what will happen? He's no spring chicken either. I mean, he'll be hitting 80 now, I think, or at least late 70s, I would imagine. Maybe a little bit less, but yeah, he's up there. And same with his wife. And of course, the question, will she or will she not become queen, is another big thing. The Queen recently let it be known that it is her desire that Charles's wife becomes queen when she dies. So there's a clue there as to what might happen. That's it from me for today. I hope you've enjoyed this. Enjoy watching the new Prime Minister being appointed, if it makes it onto your screens. It's never televised. You just see the car speeding in to the office of the Queen, or the palace grounds, or in this case Balmoral, and then you see it speeding out again, going to the local airport. So there's not much to see, and if the Queen's in poor health, we probably wouldn't see her anyway. So let's hope she's okay. But yeah, that's it for today. Big news, big news. See you all. Bye-bye.